Ladies and gentlemen, the final session of WCC 2025, Cashew Kernel Markets, Review and Outlook. The moderator for this session, steering this for us, will be the Managing Director of Royal Nuts Singapore and Dorado Ivory. Please put your hands up for Mr. Vigneshwar Rajkumar. Inviting on stage our other presenters for this panel, the Director, Intersnack Cashew Company Private Limited, Mr. Schipper. Next up, it is great privilege for me to now invite on stage the Director of China Chamber of Commerce for Import and Export of Foodstuffs, Native Produce Animal Byproducts, CFNA, and the Secretary General of the China Nut Association, also serving as China's Ambassador for International Nut and Dry Fruit Council. Please put your hands up for Madam Chen Ying. Inviting next, Ms. Tu Huong Vu is the Director and owner of HD Cashew from Vietnam. Let's give her a round of applause. Our next guest on the stage is the President of Western India Cashew Company, recognized for his visionary leadership in the cashew industry. He has also been the former chairman of the Cashew Export Promotion Council of India and vice chairman. And also he has been actively engaging with African Cashew Alliance and USAID for initiatives and globally strengthening the cashew trade. Please put your hands up for Mr. Hari Nair. And finally, inviting on the stage the Procurement Manager, Jameel International Foodstuffs, Mr. Safwan Akrin. With this, I leave this session in the hands of our session's chair. Ladies and gentlemen, final session. Let's make it worth their time on the stage.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Vigneshwar Rajkumar, the Managing Director of Dorado Nuts and Royal Nuts Group. I'd like to thank the team of WCC for this opportunity to host this amazing panel sitting in front of you. We have, as a group, been a very big fan of the work that WCC has put in and the amount of effort that the entire group has, in such a short time to create such a big group of people coming here for a good cause is something which all of us appreciate. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the cashew market. It's hit a pretty interesting juncture in the year of 2025. The prices have been below the long-term average during 21 to 23 due to a good crop coupled with soft demand in the EU and US. In 2022, following the Ukraine war, reluctant inflation, and the difficult economic conditions. From the second half of 2023, there was a strong growth in the consumption and markets, and the inventories were being used up from the beginning of 2024. The time was ripe, and to move this has started happening slowly from April 2024, with the buyers starting to build up their inventories. Reports of reduced crop in some origins and the suspension of ASEAN exports by Ivory Coast for a few weeks made a huge sentimental impact on markets, and by June 2024, prices went up by almost 35 to 40%. As we start the year 2025 season, I'd like for you to keep a few points in mind. The forward trading for 2025 shipments has been at an all-time low volume than normal. Buyers seem to think that there's no reason to buy large spreads unless prices come down, and processors are reluctant to reduce prices as ASEAN prices are high. Inventories at the end of 2024, especially for ASEAN and India and Vietnam, are low, which kind of puts the spot position at a pretty tough spot for the processors. Despite high prices in the second half of 2024, consumption in Asia, where the prices get passed on pretty quickly, hasn't had too much of an effect. There is some concern whether the high prices will affect the consumption in the USA and EU market. But on the flip side, some people say that even with current prices, there is no need to increase retail prices because a few retailers haven't reduced prices since the previous spike. Even though the current prices are above 30% higher than the prices of 2022 to early 2023, if you look at it in the long-term aspect over the past 10 years average, it's still within its range. In the next hour or so, the experienced panel will educate you about these and other developments and trends in their respective markets. To get things moving on, I would like to invite the first panelist to share their thoughts and views. Mr. Wim. Oh, thank you, everyone.
Okay, let me take you through the figures from Europe. So can I have the first slide, please? Okay, so what you see here is the moving annual total from 22 up to 2024, and that is up and including November of last year. So in the middle, that's the volume development. So we see a very, very healthy volume development. A growth last year of 3.2%, and from 23 to 24, even almost 10% volume-wise. You know, and volume, basically in a commodity like this, for me that is key. Price is up, price is down. So marketeers always expressing value. I'm a simple buyer, I express in volume. So this is a very healthy development for the category. You see on the right side, you see the pricing. This is retail pricing per kg. And so what do we have as a cashew kernel price now? 7.50 per kg on a FOB basis, more or less, Vicky, yeah, can be. It's under pressure, I know, you're worried. Fingers crossed. But in the retail, in Europe, it is 12.88 a kg. And the 7.50 is FOB Vietnam. So we need to drag it from Vietnam to Europe. We need to clear it. We need to do all our checks and balances. We need to roast it, we need to fry it, we need to pack it, carton, foil. The supermarket needs to earn something. So that is a price quite under pressure there. Yeah? But there are people who gain and there are people who lose a bit, because you see on top the red is branded and the blue is private label. Now nuts in Europe is a private label business, because look at the columns over there. The volume, basically private label is determining it. Therefore, I'm very happy that also organizations like Aldi, they are really backing up now sustainability. Because with sustainability, you know, we can move up those prices, because these are not healthy levels. Our figures come from Nielsen. So, contrary to what I picked up during this convention, hey, some figures go that direction, other figures go that direction. These are figures that have been measured at the checkout of the supermarket. So these are really reliable figures. We asked Nielsen to do that in 17 European countries, because these are also our main sales territories. And you can see that 5 of these countries account for 90% again of value sales. This is coming from the marketing department, so everything is value sales. So it's Germany, the UK, France, Netherlands, and the big runner-up, Poland. And you see there are mature markets like Germany and the Netherlands that show limited growth. But there are other markets that show youth growth, especially in volume. So all in all, a very healthy category. And this is a bit a difficult matrix. You see on the left side, you see the volume change from 2022 to 2023. And on the horizontal axis, it is 2023 to 2024. So Poland is really outperforming every country, because in both years they show really, really a very good growth. Everybody or every country showed some growth, and an average growth last year of 3.2, and this year it was 9.8 in general. Unfortunately, my home country, the Netherlands, and the home country of our company, Germany, lagging a bit behind. But all in all, what I said, healthy category. This is an overview of the new product introductions for mono cashew, as we say. I have to admit that more and more volume in cashew we sell as part of a mix. That is also to compensate the price volatility. Because of all the funny measurements of last year, you know, the cashew prices shoot up. So as a roaster, we need to anticipate for that. A couple of years ago, macadamia prices went to $20 per kg. And so macadamia, we sell hardly anymore as a single item. So but we do sell them as a component of mixes. And we do also with cashew. But this is an overview of mono product launches. And you see, the company or the countries do well. Germany, the Netherlands, you know, they are really boosting. Maybe they have seen the drop in volume growth compared to the other countries. And so all in all, it's an active market. And to give a bit of flavor to that, you see here an example of the recent product introduction. So it is very straightforward, roasted, unsalted, roasted, salted. There's a private label product, cashew with pepper, in a special Olympic Games promotion. And also exotic flavors come in, including wasabi. Well, I don't think that is really a good thing, but lemon and pepper in cashew nut Indian style, I think it fits to the DNA of the product. But that, of course, is a matter of taste. And what we have heard also from our colleagues from OFI, we see more cashew pieces being used as topping for salads, in yogurts, in mueslis, etc. And more positioning on the health side of it. And because the full marketing piece for the retailer and the final consumer is price, it's also affordable cashew. So cheaper bags, cheaper cashew at what they say a premier product proposition. So this is an overview of the European market. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bim, for your insight. I'd like to invite Ms. Chen Ying to give her inputs on her market, please.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chen Ying from China Chamber of Commerce. I'm very glad to be here and share some information to you. I used to work in the China Chamber of Commerce, and this year I transited to China Customs Brokers Association and also set up the company with me. Yeah, okay. And I would like to share the 4 respective informations with you. First, you will to see the total import of China's all kinds of the tree nut. Why I should give you the information? Because when we look around the one tree nut, you couldn't independent to look at this tree nut. You should think that all of the other tree nuts is a systems. So from this chart, you will see that China import pistachios is the largest one, and also last year, China import 133,000 metric tons from abroad, and that is increased 87% than the previous year. And also, about the second largest is the almond. And almond, you will think that is the second largest tree nuts consumption in China. Most of the almond and the pistachios is imported from the United States, Australia, and just like that. I think that you will think the second largest is macadamia, pecan, and cashew. And those is stable. I think this is the second level of the tree nut. The small is the hazelnuts, walnut, and the pine nuts. But you will think that China's nut consumption market is highly sustainability and the price is sensitive. I will give you the main information of the decline in China. Cashew nuts import is declined in 2024 because the cashew nuts price are rising too fast. The second reason, Chinese consumers are price sensitive. The third, we think that there is some substitution between the different kinds of the tree nuts. That is, I would like to emphasize for that. And now, let's look at in the recent 4 years, China, the import quantity and the price, total value of the cashew. And we think that it's not too much different. It's about 500,000 metric tons per year. But maybe you think that your date is larger than me, but this is the date is from the China Customs statistics. And we will look at, this is China import to the wheat country. Frankly, we will think that Vietnam is the largest, and the last year is 57%. You will think it's large enough, but it's also declined. We will think that in 2023, Vietnam and 67%, so it's a 10% decline in recent 3 years. And the second is around Côte d'Ivoire, and is 50%. And Côte d'Ivoire last year is increased very large. We will think that 2023, Côte d'Ivoire is only 1,800, but last year is 7,400. So last year, Côte d'Ivoire and increased dramatically. The third is Mali, is 8%. But Mali is also increased last year, and 2023 is only 1,000. Last year is 3,700. The first is Myanmar. Myanmar is 7%, 6%. And the previous year is only several hundred metric tons, but last year is increased 3,150 metric tons. But the fifth is Dorado. Dorado is declined because in 2022, and it's about China import from 9,000, but the last year is only 2,800. The sixth is Cambodia, 3%. Cambodia is stable, not too much in recent years. And Ghana, Tanzania, Ghana is declined for the last year, and Tanzania is increased. 2023 is 500, but last year is 1,000. Benin is also declined too much. It's only 1%. Previous year he has export to China 4,000, but last year is only 600 metric tons. You will see the price. From here, you will see the high China may be import from those countries is kernels. Let's see the Vietnam. Vietnam is last year the average price is 6,321 US dollar for metric ton, and the highest, the second is Myanmar. Myanmar is 4,828 average price for metric ton. Tanzania is 4,381 US dollar for metric ton, and the other countries. So the high of that is all of the import directly for the kernels. For Côte d'Ivoire, Mali, Doge, Cambodia, and Benin is in-shelled. And from those Cote d'Ivoire, the price, maybe something is, some of them is a Cote d'Ivoire. So Cote d'Ivoire, the price are a little higher than other countries. From this, you will see the Chinese cashew nuts import tariff and the related policies. Cashew and cashew in-shell kernels is duty is tariff is 7% and VAT is 9%. But for the LDC country and for the friendly country, we is the 0. We will think that in 2024, China nuts consumption still increased slightly, not too much. And at the same time, show the characteristic of the daily consumption and the festival gift are reduced compared with the before, which is reflected in the slightly declined consumption during the Spring Festival. From the perspective of the consumption trade, low sugar, low salt, low fat, and no addition is preferred. And consumers pay more attention to the choice of the brand in the term of the sales channel, online and offline ingredients is become the new normal, which is promote the expansion of the nuts market. At the same time, the demand for the raw materials such as food ingredients and the baking increasing. The nut industry is show booming trade in China in future. And China cashew kernel consumption, we think is account 95% for snackies. For food ingredients, I think it's only 5%. 320 is mainly used for the daily nuts and other products. And it's very popular, and I think it's the largest specification China imports from abroad. 180 is mainly the whole grain with the people to eat directly. And for the China recent 2 years since COVID-19, people is not consumption is a little reduced. So I think 118 is not as popular as before. And for the in the past 80 of the season consumption of the nuts in China was from the September to the Spring Festival. But in recent years, with the daily nuts and the other variety is very popular in China, you will think that it's not like before. So maybe since then, in the spring and autumn also, consumption some of the nuts began, people to do that. But for the milk and the cashew milk, cashew cheese and butter, just like that, it's not very popular in China. But we think that along with the China baking industry development and more it will consumption in that. From this chart, you will see that this is some lady sent to me every month, and he is summary the price of 320 and the export. From this chart, we'll think the price up to now is a little higher. So we think that also for those 2 days, I communicate with the exporters, professors, and the industry person on this conference and give me more information. And also, I'm very glad to communicate with all of you. And also, I certificate before I come here and China. So think that Chinese importers is, I think they hesitate to enter to the market at this time, and they maybe prefer to wait for further, because the next peak consumption will, on the next Spring Festival, will wait for whole year, so they have enough time to look at the situation of the market. But we also will see that Chinese importers, for the next months, they will go to Cambodia, Vietnam, Africa, and other places to see how the market and how the situation at crops really is. They may be enter into the negotiation business, but I don't think they will real market, and I think they will hesitate and look for furthers. And that is what I would like to share with you. And also, we think that not only this, but for the China in recent years, we import more from the Vietnam, but I think that China and Vietnam have a good relations between our two countries. Many of the Chinese, not only for the cashew nuts, but also other nuts, they all set up factory, processor factory in Vietnam. And I think the two countries and the two China's industries will set up the more business. But also, China would like to cooperation more with the African countries. Opportunities from the Africa country suppliers, I think that you must be to process for the cashew kernels, because China is not good to import cashew in-shell, because in-shell they will have to pay the VAT 9%, so they will lose a lot of money. You will not competition. So we persuade you to process the kernels. Second, you should try to your best to directly trade with the Chinese importers. In fact, China importers is also very willing to direct trade with the Africa. We will see from which I just showed the country we import, and that is increased too much than before. The third, would be a stable supply and a stable price, and the quality will be further improved. We would like to cooperate with all of you and China, and welcome all of you to do the business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Chen Ying, for sharing your insight on the Chinese market. It was pretty eye-opening with a few things that caught, I think, even the panelists by surprise. As I'd like to invite our next speaker, Ms. Huong, to share her insight of her side of the aisle.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I was invited to give some perspective for the topic of the expectation from the cashew processor in Vietnam. So our company is a broker for the cashew kernel and raw cashew nut in Vietnam. This day I have been working and discussing with many cashew suppliers in Vietnam, and I understand there is some expectation from their side for the cashew business. So there is some challenges that Vietnamese cashew factory facing difficult this day, and also like a very tough business for them. So the first challenge is how to find the staple material supply. So they expect for the consistent policies on raw cashew nut export from African countries. So Vietnam import a lot of cashew from African countries. So all the raw seed trader and processor in Vietnam, they expect for the consistent policy on raw cashew nut export from African countries, so that they can make the plan for purchasing raw seed and make accurate for shipment time. And the processors, they can make plan for processing and selling kernels. The second, they expect the farmer must dry raw seed properly to get the good quality. Because the last year, due to the suspense of export from IVC government, so the cashew is kept, raw seed is kept long time in the farmer, from the farmer, so maybe they didn't dry properly, or they store the raw seed in the PP bag instead of jute bag. So the quality come down so much when the raw seed trader export later to Vietnam. The third point is they expect for fair pricing to prevent the farmer from chopping down the cashew tree. So in Vietnam and Cambodia, as I know, in 2022 and 23, the price of raw seeds come down much. So farmers, they chop down all the cashew tree, and they plant the other product, the other agriculture product like tapioca, like durian. And the fourth point, they expect to find the reliable raw cashew nut supplier. So you see, last year is a very big difficult for the cashew processor in Vietnam. There is many like a default or blackmails or very, very poor quality from some seed trader from Africa to Vietnam. So the second point of challenge is very high competition between suppliers in Vietnam. In Vietnam, we have thousands of processors from small, medium, and to large processor. So that is a very, very strong competition. And there is rapid growth of cashew industry in Vietnam. So it create like a variation between variation of the quality and reliability between small, medium, and large suppliers. So the expectation from the cashew processor that they expect the buyer of kernel to choose and support for the good, reliable cashew processor. So to maintain the sustainable growth. And the third challenge is they expect to reduce the third point is the high intermediary cost. So they expect to reduce the intermediary cost in the supply chains, like middle trader, logistics, and tax. So you see, many suppliers in Vietnam, quite some suppliers in Vietnam, they send the people to African countries to buy raw seed, so that to save some cost for the to get lower price for raw seed, because if going through trader, raw seed trader, they have raw seed trader also need to take some profit. So it's not workable when the kernel price is very sharp, very competitive now. And the second thing, they expect the kernel should be sold at higher price. So we to match with raw cashew nut price. These 2-3 years, very difficult when I saw all the time at the same day, same market day, the raw seed price all the way higher than the kernel price. So if the processors, they just do cashew like back to back to do like a tone processing to get some profit on the processing, and then not possible at all. So any processor, if they don't take position, they don't speculate, and then it's very difficult for them to buy raw seed and to sell kernel. So that is just very simple, and some point I want to share to the conference today. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you, Ms. Huong. I'd like to invite Mr. Hari Nair to share his input on the American market.
Thank you, Vignesh, and thank you, Eventil, for this opportunity to address this gathering. Could you put on the slides, please? Yes. My company is Western India Cashew Company, and we are leading exporters of value added, that is roasted cashews from India. And sure, okay. And we market the Karma brand in America, and we also supply some retailers and ingredients, cashew-based ingredients in America. My mandate today is to speak about the US market. The Indian market has already been covered in great detail by Mr. Rahul Kamath yesterday, so I'll be speaking about the US market today. So you can see that the US import of cashews in 2024, this is calendar 2024, is significantly higher than what it was in 2022 and 2023. And you can also see that in 2021, the number was somewhat slightly lower than what it is in 2024. So 2024 is the all-time high, represents an all-time high of cashew imports into the US. If you look at the graphs underneath, that is the delivered FOB price in the United States of various grades over the same period. So there is something which is a little strange. I mean, we normally hear that when prices go up, demand goes down. But here you will see that in 2021, when the prices were high, the imports into the US were high. And even in 2024, it's the same thing. Prices went up, but the quantity has also gone up. There can be different reasons to it, and what I understand is that to a large extent, the prices went up because of uncertainty in supply, and a lot of the importers bought some extra quantities compared to what they would otherwise need, and they had to buy to be able to, keep enough stocks because they were expecting further shortages to happen through the year, which did not happen. And that is probably the explanation, of why the imports have gone up in 2024. We may have a problem, if it follows the earlier trend of 2022, where there was a fall in import in the next year. Nobody can talk about the future, especially in these times. But there is a chance that the imports may not go up significantly from the 2024 numbers in the next year. So why is it that prices affect a little later? So this is a slide which was presented at the Peanut and Tree Nut Manufacturers Association last month, which showed that there is a lag between when import prices go up compared to when the price at retail goes up. So the retail price here is a weighted average of monopacks of cashews, in the the supermarkets, mass market, and convenience stores in the United States. So the last time when prices went up in March to July of 2021, the retail prices went up only in January of 2022. And if you go back, you will see that, from the previous slide, that the next year, the import quantities had dropped. Now this year, the prices went up in May, from May onwards, and the increase in prices to the United States has been significantly higher than what it was in May 2021. But the retail prices, if you look at the retail prices have not gone up as yet. So last month when I was in the United States, what I understood was that the prices may change in February, but that has not yet happened. I think there's still negotiations going on with the supermarkets. And as you all know, there's been a new government with drastically different policies, which has come in, in the United States. And because of these reasons, much of the business has not been, confirmed that the higher prices have not yet been accepted by the retailers. And there is a lot of resistance to increasing the price because, this is the level. And, if you look at a similar increase, there will definitely be some amount of resistance from the buyers in America. So, this shows the total amount of retail cashew sales compared to the import, in retail cashew sales in monopacks, that is, and the import. So this is from a slightly longer period from 2019 onwards. You'll see that from 2019 to 2021, during the period of COVID, there's been a very good increase in the consumption of all nuts, and there was an increase in the usage of cashews also. You see that in the retail sales as well. I mean, sometimes we think that import is equal to consumption, which is not true. But at the same time, there is a pattern if you look at it, but you'll see that there was a big fall in 2022 when prices went up. And the next year, it has gone back to some extent, but the imports are about the same in 2022 and 2023. And the difference is obviously some stock which was carried forward from one year to the other. So this is something about the actual consumer of cashews in America. The cashew consumer is not a poor person. The highest group of consumers is families with an income of over $70,000 per annum. So on one side, we may think that they can afford to pay higher prices for cashews. But what we have to remember is that that sticker shock is something which the marketers and the retailers do not want to bother consumers with. The US also has a lot of indigenous nuts, which, like for example, you have almonds, pecans, walnuts, pistachios. These are all American-grown nuts. And this year, with the uncertainty over tariffs, there is a chance that locally grown nuts may be promoted over cashews. The other side of it is that cashew consumers are older people, and the usage of cashews by Gen Z is much lower than what it is among boomers and Gen X. So, a few years ago, I was involved with the Global Cashew Council. I headed the Global Cashew Council also for some time. And from the industry side, what we tried to do was to promote the usage of cashews through health study, through some health studies through the INC, and even the Cashew Export Promotion Council of India did some research, on how cashews are healthy for diabetes, and the concurrent result was that it was also good for heart health. So that sort of research was done in about 10 years ago. That is 2013, 14, 13 to 16 is when such research was done. And that was also a period when there was a growth in cashew production, and there was a thinking that we need to increase demand. Now, I think we are getting into a situation where the crops are high, and finally, it is the grower's job to increase demand. And rather than selling the crop, we should be marketing the product. And that is a thought that I would like to leave with you. And being the second biggest market for cashews, the United States is a very, very important market. And it is important that we should be looking at making cashew and cashew products attractive to the next generation, that is the millennials and Gen Z. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hari, for sharing your insight about the American market. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Safwan Akrin from Jameel International Foodstuff.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Safwan Akrin, a sales manager from Al Jameel International Group, based in Gulf countries. Today, I will be sharing with you some insights and details about cashew kernel market in GCC and especially in Saudi Arabia. So here we see market size in Saudi Arabia, imported kernel cashew numbers compared for the past 4 years. Unfortunately, we don't have the details for 2024. As we look out for 2021, we see market imported kernels 11,500 metric ton. 2022 is like 13,000 metric ton. 2023, 15,000 metric ton plus. We see a potential growth every year at 10 to 15%, which is going unled by just the consumer and the importers, which is in the market. 2024, we see a slight decline in the growth due to the recent shortage in the supply and the high value prices. In terms of market origins and exporters, use it to be 50% to 50% Indian cashew to Vietnam cashew 4 years ago. And we see increasing in Vietnam cashew percentage in the market every year increasing. I think we will come to, in the near future, of an increase in imported African cashew to now we see more efficient and reliable supplier coming out from cashew, reaching out to the markets. Here the certain grades that the market importing, so mainly the 320 representing the biggest percentage of market imports, which is like for 40%. It comes below after it 240, and then we have the 180. Also we have the broken percentage, which is using for food topping. Along recent also, we have the roasted cashew with skin. For the food safety in Saudi Arabia, the regulation is standard. No, there is no more strict regulations. It's only phytosanitary and certificate of origin. Here I will be talking about the consumption growth and food application used. In GCC, it's mostly traditional sales point and traditional consumption behavior. And the leading market is traders, not a retailer or processors, to make a market decision of imports and percentages. Most of the product is going as a snacking, up to 90%. The sales point, if we look out to the right-left picture, the below, it's, or we all see in the malls or traditional groceries, you see a counter sales. Or the other 10%, it's been used in the pastries, which is the Middle East traditional sweets, and for food topping on the dishes. I wanted to hint out, most of the consumer know cashew is being represented to the market as a luxury snack and a trend. Today, in our markets, we see a trend for the health benefits, for to be fit and healthy, but the consumer is not being able to understand what is the benefit of cashew actually. The details that was shared during the conference, it's being shared inside with us, but consumer, since in our markets is most of the product sold as traditional without details of the product, without containing the nutritions of the product. So customer just buying it because he likes it, but without getting the actual nutritions on hand, all of that. In our markets, we see good potential for cashew, but it's not being led well to have better off consumption, imports. We see in other industries in the nuts, like for example, pistachio, walnut, being controlled from USA. They invest a lot in promoting the product on the sales point, giving some promotion products along with nutrition flyers, along with food recipes to be applied. I think if more research is being provided to the consumer, promoted like by social media, etc., could increase potentially the consumption of in cashew. Reliable supplier today in the market also. One more thing we could hint out, cashew is one product, consumer is the same all worldwide, but we don't have unified quality worldwide for the same product. From a factory to a factory, it's a different grading. From a country to a country, different grading. Make it struggle to the buyer and to the processor to make mutual understanding on what level of that variety we are speaking. Also for our region, it's not a consumer decision of quantity-wise, not a retailer decision of quantity-wise. It's more of a trader decision for the imports. It's most of the quantity that you see on all countries being imported, it's 70% represented by the trader that importing. Trader wants information because to understand he want to take a position on the product or not. We maybe will take years for processors to be the leading or retailers to be leading in our market. But as of today, the industry, we see in other product industries in the nuts, almonds or walnuts or pistachios, we see monthly reports of the exported quantities to each country, qualities, varieties that been exported. In cashew, if exported kernels, varieties, and quantities being shared from all the countries, could come to a better of increasing growth and taking position and understanding the shortage of the market or the surplus of the market. But as of today, it's more of emotional buying. We like, buyer is buying liking the price, he's taking a position. He's not liking the price, he's not taking the position. Sometimes we see a huge shortage in the market or a huge surplus, which is if we provide, exporting kernel countries provide exported quantities to each destination, it could come to a better off in consumption. I think in the near future, we see a good potential for the African cashew because as of today, we have good processors in the industry, reliable, and the market is more understanding and shifting towards African cashew. Maybe in the next 2-3 years, we see slight 30 to 40% representing in the market. As of today, Vietnam represents 80% of Indian market, 20% is going, 15% going to India, 5% to African, but maybe in the 25 and 26, we see up to 30, 40% African cashew. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Safwan. We're going to reach the question segment of the discussion. So I have a few in my hand right now, but feel free to scan the barcode if you have any specific question, point it towards any panel member or to the entire group as well. So feel free, and let's begin. My first question is to Mr. Wim. The EU market has been the most accepting when it comes to price fluctuation. What does the EU do different? Is it the attitude of the customers, or is it the method in which the price fluctuations are handled by local businesses? If you have any other feedback regarding that too.
Yeah, thank you. Very good question. I think it's product intrinsic. Cashew is already there for quite a while, and it is a product that is really loved by consumers as a snack item. Peanuts is being considered more basically as a staple, so to indulge yourself, cashew is really the right type of snack. We see almond as single item as a runner-up, but far from cashew. So as long as the price is within a certain, say, range of acceptance, then consumers will buy cashew. And as we just discussed, at this very moment, prices seem to be very high. But when you have a longer context, we are at a 10, 15 years average. For us as a sales organization, when we look to 2025, 2026 marketing years, we see a much more expensive US dollar against the euro. And of course, compared to last year's prices, basically what we sold to 65 to 70 to 80, 85 as a bit of an average. We are now far up. So that combination, is a little bit of a threat for the market. But I think we have confidence in the European consumer to still persist and to buy the cashews.
Thank you, Mr. Wim. I'd like to shoot my next question to Ms. Chen Ying. So if you look at all the nuts combined, China seems to have the most consistent and fast growth when it comes to import and consumption year after year. What is the Chinese market doing different compared to other growing consuming countries?
As you know that during the past 30 years, 10 years or 20 years, China economic grows very quickly, and the Chinese people get rich, and they more pay attention to consumption, the very healthy food, and they have also in many, they have to consumption the more tree nuts. As you know that in the past 10 years, Spring Festival, many of the Chinese also consumption, the sunflower seeds, peanuts, that's like that. They don't have not money to consumption the tree nuts, but recently they have reached. But during the COVID-19 and China, I think that the economic is not increased as quickly as before, it's slowly. And also China, there is a consumption decline. There is some sentences said that maybe some people at first are afraid that just like the Japan, maybe the economic will come back. So I think it's not to do how to real the, but I think that because people, they more pay attention to the tree nuts, the more attention to the healthy. I think believe that they will consume more of the tree nuts, and also that more activities, more promotion, and more give on creation. New commands how to that is suitable for the Chinese people. As knows that in every year of the recent years, China rate of the Chinese people that will create the new months to how to consumption the chinas just for the China. The Chinese state, do you know that? They open it and also put the walnut in that. That is in Chinese pronunciation that is 早 and put the walnut in it. Just the nonsense, just like miss you in Chinese, that make people more and more. So it's very hot, popular in China. So I think that those things will decrease the consumption of the China. So I think that first, as people will more believe and pay attention to the good, healthy food. The second, for the people will create the new months to how to consumption and the new of the commodities for that. And the third, I think that for the new technology, maybe will the high and quality, delicious food to create and distribute the rapidly consumption in China.
Thank you. I have a question for Ms. Huong. So the Vietnam market seems to be going through a shift and change because of the growth of processing at origin in Africa. How has that affected the kernel market? And also, what are the Vietnamese processors doing to combat or to deal with competing for example, the Ivory Coast crop, right? Vietnam is the biggest importer of the Ivory Coast crop, and talking to my fellow Vietnamese processors, everyone is kind of upset. But this is where the industry is moving towards. So, from your view, what do you think the Vietnam market is doing to prepare for this inevitable competition for RCN and in turn Kernel?
So very interesting and difficult question, I think. But with my knowledge, I think we have to accept the competition and the change in the cashew industry in the world. So Vietnam, of course, we have many advantages in the processing, but also have some disadvantage, in the raw seed supply is not enough for Vietnam capacity. So Vietnam have to import a lot from Africa, from Cambodia. So later, not only IVC, not only African country, but Cambodian, they also try to increase the processing and they support for processing at their countries. And then Vietnam may have less raw cashew nut to process. But you see, for long-term business, the cashew kernel buyer, they base on the many aspect, many factor to buy the cashew kernel, like a quality, like a reliability, and the factory setup, everything. So in Vietnam, we have advantage of long-term in business already. Many companies, we have a good reputation in the world. And we have a very low cost for processing. Electricity is low, manpower is available, and also more efficient than the manpower in Africa or in Cambodia. And the worker in Vietnam, the people in Vietnam, I'm proud to say that we are work very hard. So with some advantage, and another advantage is the technology of processing in Vietnam. It is innovated every year. So thanks to machine maker, they change and they upgrade the machine every year. So we have a more advantage on the processing cost. For example, before it is we have about 20% unpeeled by machine, by peeling machine, but now maybe they change to like a 15 or 10% only. So every year there is some change. But of course, in the long term, I think the processing cashew will move more to the African country, especially in IVC and maybe to Cambodia. But we hope that with the long-term business and also with the big cashew production in the world, so Vietnam still have some place to stand. Maybe quantity reduced, but that is like a selection time for the good processor to grow and to be like a sustainable in the cashew supply chains. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Huong. I'd like to shoot a question to Mr. Hari. So the American market, if you look at it, about 20% of that import is value-added cashews. So that is something pretty unique to the US compared to the other regions that import mainly raw kernels. Do you see this trend increasing, and also do you project other regions are going to follow suit?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why the US imports I think value-added processors are able to export to the United States is that a large part of the US consumption is driven by retail brands, which are supermarket brands. And some of them, and another important thing is that a large and some of the biggest selling units in America are large packs of of a 1 pound plus or 2 pound size of packs, where the freight rate is is relatively cheaper compared to selling 100-gram packs when you send it across the ocean. I think these are reasons why the U.S. Has been willing to take take products from origin, roasted products or value-added products from origin. There's also as I presented, there is a lot of innovation in America. I mean, in a lot of products, including in cashews. But the U.S. is a melting pot of many different people from many different societies, and there are a lot of niches for for example, people from East Asia who would like say a tom yum cashews or something like that, and again, people from the Indian diaspora there may like a tandoori cashew or whatever. I mean, so there are niches which are there in America because it is a diaspora of people from many origins, or peri-peri cashews from Africa. So there are opportunities in America which which are there. And the third thing is that there is the US speaks English, and English is a very common language everywhere. In Europe, I think different markets have different languages, so it is a little bit more difficult for companies from origin to go to Europe and and sell in different markets. So I would say that these are probably the reasons why the US is taking more of value-added cashews now than in the past. Whether it's going to grow or not, I don't know, because I believe that the US industry is very resilient, and the US economy always has bounced back in the past. And I think even in cashews, I think they are innovating a lot, and I think new things which should come up from that side. But I also believe that it is important to, as growers, I mean, see, the biggest brand in America, the biggest cashew brand in the world is Planters. And Planters is a peanut brand. The Planters is Mr. Peanut. It is not Mr. Cashew Nut. So, whereas all the other nuts, I mean, if you have Diamond for walnuts, you have Blue Diamond for almonds, and so there are the pecan companies, all of them promote their brands in America, whereas for cashews, it's not specifically promoted by any single brand in America. So I think it is important that, like the Americans are selling, are promoting almonds in other countries, it is very important that, the growing countries of cashews should promote, cashews in major markets, as in Saudi Arabia also. I mean, I think here in the Arab world also, I think this point has been raised, and that's something which needs to be done in the future. Thank you.
This is going to be the last question from my side to Mr. Safwan Akrin. In your presentation, from my understanding, the market has not reached its final form yet. It is still growing and evolving as time goes on in Saudi. Global economy, along with the wars happening in the regions. So I just wanted to hear from you on if that has had any effect in your local market with the momentum of growth, and maybe share some insight on that as well.
Thank you. I will speak in general for the Gulf market. For the past 4 or 5 years, we don't have more economy issue. We have a growing and developing markets and region. It's been the highest rated in worldwide. In the recent year, we see a quite decline due to the geopolitical in general. But as Gulf countries, we see high traffic visitors, more opening up to the international market, which could lead to more consumption and increase. For the cashew, I hinted, people, you see that increase because human nature like it. It's a tasty nut. It's an easy chewing, cracking nut. We could have more potential to grow if we educate the consumer, if we create a stable and sustainable growth of consumer decision. Today, it's more of a profit decision, which is not leading to a stable growth. There is another nuts investments. We experienced, for example, pistachio. There was a campaign for the consumer behavior surveys, trends, and we saw a growth in the market above 30–40%. In walnut, the same, also in almond industry. Those being led by the non-profitable association that they're getting fund from the industry entirely. But as he mentioned, in America, it's big whales industry, big whales retailers. Here today, in the region, the market represent traditional sales points, 70%. The retail shelf and buckets represent 30% of this. As I mentioned, snacking is like 90%. The retails is like only 30%. So it's not a retailer where he want to invest. It's a small counter sales where he's just looking for his daily sales. So I would say the product is not being served well. It could be performing more better. As the growth of the region, we all know Dubai or Saudi is opening up to as becoming international destination. So I think we don't have any economic non-growing issue, plus we have more growing potential. Thank you. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Safwan Akrin. Let's go to the questions on the board. We'll just go chronologically. What African local processors have to do in order to be more competitive in the marketing side in the destination market like US, China, and Europe? I think this is to the entire panel. Does anyone want to take this? If not, I think I can give an answer. Okay, I'll just give my feedback about this. Because the African processors and the market by itself is pretty young, we can't expect the trends to change and shift within a year's time. Because if you see between India and Vietnam on how export was taken over eventually by Vietnam, it didn't happen within a day. So I think having consistent quality, inviting people to see what you're doing differently compared to the other regions. And yeah, I think it's just consistent quality, good prices, and giving proper support to the buyers. I think that's what will really help. Let's go to the next one. Oh, yes.
One more factor for the African cashew, we all look to the price. It's not competitive. Okay. But each factory and all cashew industry has 30 outcomes of grades, not one grade. As a buyer, need to be educated of the grades, so he compare that value is equivalent to which grade. Of course, today we see African cashew is higher in quality and color and quality of product. So the first grade is not equivalent to the first grade in Vietnam. But when we price out the comparative prices, we say, oh, African is not competitive. Actually, African is competitive if we understand the outcomes of the qualities that they have. Because we're comparing the first grade from Vietnam, first grade from India, first grade from Africa. But they're not equivalent to each other in quality. They have other qualities that is equivalent to the level we are looking for. And maybe that could improve their sales if they educate the buyer of their varieties and the price out that they have.
So I completely agree with you. each individual region has their own version of quality and price, and over time, I think, along with exports going and people sharing information, I think it definitely will improve the African export market. There is a jump in pistachio consumption in China relatively compared to other nuts. Is it because of health consciousness or affordable pricing to the consumers?
Oh, okay. As you know that pistachio is not cheap than the cashew. Sometimes it's more expensive. But I think that there is several reasons. First, I think that in China, people like the taste of pistachios, not other, not too much oil, and not too much other taste, and they think that is very delicious. So Chinese people like it. The second, I think the pistachios name in China is very good. That is happy nuts in Chinese. So at the Spring Festival or just like that, people give that to the people as the gift or just like that. I think that is the reason why consumption high is in China. The third, I think that mostly is China import the pistachio from United States. United States, you will think that wonderful compared 70% of the market they could supply to the China. And wonderful, only choice 5 importers in China can do the pistachio of them. So since during the past 20 years, who import pistachio from abroad in China, every earned money. But of those also so many tree nuts, sometimes some year they earn, sometimes they lose the money. But for the pistachio, always they import from the United States to earn money. So that will stimulate the importers to import more and more, and they will advertising and consumption and promote their distributors and the wholesalers to sell more pistachio. Yeah, I think that is the reason. Yeah, and the next one is also for me. No?
No, I think that got taken off the
Okay.
board, but I do remember that question if you
Okay,
want to
that's
answer it. You're fine. All right, Mr. Akrin.
Sorry for interfering on the Chinese. It was for China market. For the pistachio, it's quite different than other industries in the nuts because Wonderful, as she mentioned, is the leading. He provided a trust to every single buyer that he's guaranteed with his capital, he's guaranteed with his profit. They never dropped the price for the past 20 years, only twice. If you go to the data of the market, twice. And he focused on big processors. He wants everybody to be processing pistachio, so he's hooked with the product. So I am guaranteed with my capital and I am guaranteed with my profit. Why I don't grow in the product? The instabilities in other nuts make instabilities in the consumption growth, which is also leading in our market for pistachio the same growth. We see potential growth more and more. If you compare it to other nuts, it's the highest growth. Why? We make more money on it. And the volume they provide, other industries, they cannot do it. The flexibility of the product, it's quite flexible, so it's comfortable to run it.
Right. So the main outlook is the consistency and more of a comfortability factor compared to other nuts that are a lot more volatile. Right?
Correct. And they represent 70%. I know other industries, it's hard to run it in their show because they do 25,000 containers. They're not California leading processor, they're world leading processor. They own around 45% of world of a human pistachio consumption.
Right. Thank you. The next question is to Mr. Hari Nair. Anonymous question, I see. Any comment on the carryover inventory in USA from 2024?
I can see Ranjit Walia smiling there. And I think, see, the usage of cashews has gone up last year, and the imports has also gone up. On a very basic analysis, you'll see that the imports have gone up faster than the usage has gone up. So there must be some stocks in the United States. Maybe the stocks are higher than what it was in the beginning of the year, beginning of 2024. I mean, it's not something which I am privy to. I don't know the balance sheets of the importers there. I don't know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hari. I think we have pretty limited time, so we're going to try to knock off as many questions as possible. So it's going to be like a quick round. To Mr. Wim, are you planning on opening a new premises in Vietnam for roasting nuts?
I can help you in the timing. I don't know.
Thank you. The next one, I think there are two separate questions, Mr. Safwan. I'm going to shoot both of them at you.
I already read them, I will answer. There is more potential of a growth, but as the cashew is being served less to the consumer in terms of nutrition and facts, all of those facts, we know it, consumer doesn't know it as a fact. For the currencies fluctuation and less demand we see there in the recent time, as the geopolitical situation, yes, there is a lower demand. Iran, it's not about the currency. Their currency always not stable. They prefer to invest to have commodities more than money because they could lose less money in the commodity than the currency. But for the past 12 months, we see unstable geopolitical situation, so they don't want to take a risk on the position. So maybe they're shifting to gold or dollars. But usually they're taking position on commodity, they're more safe with their money. But this year it's more of war risk, etc., so it's not like that.
Thank you, Mr. Safwan. I think the final question right now, what disadvantages of processing in cashew in Africa? And when the IBC factories can process 50% raw cashews of IBC? Oh, when can? Anyone else want to take this, or okay, I'll do it. Yeah, I think it's to me as well. Yeah, the disadvantages is definitely that the missionaries, the expertise, and everything around that space is sitting in Asia right now. It's going to take some time for building local talent and also creating a supply chain for example, spares, right? If you're setting up a facility in Vietnam compared to Africa, you can ask for spares and within a month it's in your hands, or even lesser time, in about 2 weeks. Compared to being in Africa, you have a lot of projecting, predicting, to make sure that you don't run out of consumables, because that might be one of the bigger bottlenecks over there. Other disadvantage would be just the cost of operations. The other byproduct, we don't have much of a market for the byproducts of cashew, right? Cashew shell, CNSL, Desta. That is something which the Asian market, like India and Vietnam, have a pretty thriving interest. So that is something I would consider which is a big disadvantage in the particular regions. It's not going to be there forever, but it'll take its time to pick up. And for the second part of the question on when Ivory Coast will reach 50% of the raw material processing, long story short, soon. I'd like to pass the mic to Mr. Ranjit Balia for the same question that was pointed to Mr. Hari about the American market.
Hari has put me on the hot seat. So I'm just going to try and expand a little bit about the US market. So we believe that there is a very substantial carry-in at the end of the year. We also believe that there is a lot of reluctance on the part of retailers and consumers for the price increase. There has been pushback. They are keeping demand down by pushing the sales of other tree nuts to extend the current inventories that they've got. This also explains why they haven't made their commitments on kernel purchases for 2025. One of the things that we have learned is that people remember the last battle and forget the war. And what has happened in 2024, where a lot of forward contracts were done, which resulted in problems that have given most of us more gray hair than we normally would have got, is what is driving the consumption and demand for 2025. We think that consumption will be down on cashews in North America. Not something you want to hear in this room, but I just figured I'd prepare everyone as best as I can.
So this is the final question for the discussion this afternoon. To all the panel members, the price forecast of cashew kernels for the year 2025. We'll all look into our crystal ball. Ms. Huong, do you have anything?
It's very difficult. We cannot predict what is the price will be for kernel in 2025. But there is a very big customer here for purchasing kernel. It's Mr. Wim. So how is the price Mr. Wim can pay? I think that based on the price from retailer. So supermarket retailers, they are now looking for what price they can buy. But I think also there is one factor affected to the decision what price they can buy now, because it also 3 months already, it's a bit quiet in the market. So all the people, they are waiting for Mr. Trump. How is the tariff? How is the import duty he applied to the cashew from Vietnam to US? Maybe like that. I predict like that. So when, for example, if the retailer, they accept to buy from roaster, from importer, subject to import duty tax, and then it is okay. But now the supermarket, they just want to fix the price. So if the roaster, if the importer, they sell to the retailers, and then later they have to pay 10% or 5% tax, and then it's not good for them. They cannot make money with that high percentage of tax. So they wait, they see how is the idea from Mr. Trump, or maybe they think that the crop is good and then price come down. But I think also there is some reaction. When all the buyers of kernel, they are waiting, and suddenly they come to buy. When retailer come to buy, and all the buyer come to buy, and then I'm sure the price will going up a bit, or maybe going up more. And then IVC government maybe suspend for export again. Then price maybe jump up again. So we don't know exactly. We need to see and watch the market very closely. But I think for my idea, I think the current market price for kernel, it is okay, good. I think it is reasonable for sustainability in the cashew supply chains. So if you pay very low price and then it is poor to the farmer, and if it is high and then consumption is down. So I hope that the buyer of kernel will come to buy at current level of kernel market. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Huong. Let's swing it to that side, to the kernel buyers. Wim?
Yeah, more than the absolute number, for categories to grow, stable pricing is crucial. And this market is still very, very trader dominated. and trader only can live with price differences because then they can take a position. And that leads to a boom and bust market, or may lead to a boom and bust market. And last year we have seen also that political intervention can lead to an enormous 50% RCM price up, 50% cashew kernel price up, threatening the category. Basically what's really happening. So I would plea for really stable pricing, traceability, what we heard also earlier this morning from Aldi, and let the price be, say, a function of supply, demand, a little bit up, a little bit down, between $3, $3.50, everybody happy. You know, that is the way going forward. Yeah?
Thank you, Mr. Wim. Mr. Safwan Akrin.
It's not our place to say the forecast, but I think we will see some decrease if all the crops down, no political interference, as he mentioned. And then we see a steady market, maybe upward, because as of the current year, cashew, I think the most convenient product to trade and buy compared to other products and nuts, because we see high levels in other nuts, increasing prices, low crops. So I think it's going to be good year, but not as of the current next 2-3 months until we see the crops of RCN coming out, the policies that's going to be applied on it.
Thank you. Ms. Chen Ying, do you have any input? No is also fine.
Yeah, okay, I agree with the stable, and agree with was the reason, the latest just now. Maybe I think that today we think those is a little higher for Chinese consumers. Maybe they hesitate and not really to buy. Maybe sometimes the price will little down. When the Chinese are reasonable, they will enter into the market to buy, and then that the price will up a little. So we think that that's like this. But I think that maybe reasonable is for the kernels for 320 is about 6 to 6.5 US dollar per kilogram. We think that is the reasonable because of both past the several years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm not really by now, but we think that, yeah.
I mean, we hope all for that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Ms. Chen Ying. The same question to Mr. Hari, but in two separate breakdowns. The second half of the question is personally from me. You have insight not only in the international market, but the Indian domestic market as well. And as we know, even though the Indian domestic market for cashew kernels is its own beast and behaves its own way, we see intrinsic reaction in the global market based on our consumption. So can you share your insights on the projection, please?
Firstly, I think last year the prices went up very suddenly in the middle of the season, and that has not been fully passed on to consumers in developed markets. But it has been passed on to consumers in developing markets like India and the Middle East, I guess. It has not been passed on to consumers in Europe and America, which are very important markets. So that's one. The second thing is that recently, yesterday, when we, in the raw cashew panels, most countries are saying that this year we look to have a good crop. At the same time, a lot of countries have, raw cashew supplying countries have fixed a minimum price which is significantly higher than what it was last year. So, it's going to be a very difficult year this year. I think that, in the beginning of the season, the prices will remain high. There will not be parity for processing. And at some point during the year, we may see good stock at origins in the middle of the season, crops not moving, etc., etc. So these are things that I see. On the other hand, I think with some amount of peace in the Mediterranean now, I think shipping, costs would come down this year. Shipping has been a very major factor last year. And there's been, for both the United States and for Europe, all the cargo going from Asia, there has been, I think approximately, probably close to, 1 month of stock, additional stock stuck on the water. And, during the year at some point that will reach into the market, and that is also a bearish factor. So these are the factors that I see. The Indian market, I think, like I said, it's a spot market, so everything has already been passed on to the consumer. And from yesterday's presentations on the Indian market, after Diwali, after November, sales have been slow in India. But I think the market will adjust. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hari. And there you have it, folks. The overall concise is hoping for the best and preparing for not the best. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this. Thank you for all of you. I know you must be super hungry right now, so we're not going to keep you here for too long.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rajkumar, sir, for conducting this so beautifully for us and making it so interesting. I think right up till the very last minute, everyone was there trying to find out the price forecast. So, ladies and gentlemen, with this, we conclude the business session. Can I request the guests that are moving out to just be with us? We have to still declare the results of the leaderboard. I have the gold bars here with me, and I have the results with me. But before that happens, I would like to request our session's chairperson, Mr. Vigneshwar Rajkumar, sir, to present a memento to each one of our speakers.